It was supposed to be the happiest time of our lives. Alan and I had been trying for a baby for 2 years, and when the test finally came back positive, we were ecstatic. I'll never forget the day he called me disgusting. It changed everything. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. Welcome to my story. If you're listening, please let me know where you're tuning in from in the comments below. I love connecting with you all. We were so in love, or at least I thought we were. Before the pregnancy, Alan was attentive, supportive, the kind of man who always opened doors and brought me flowers just because. He was a successful accountant, meticulously organized, and always in control. I admired his drive, his ambition. Looking back, maybe I mistook his need for control as simply being caring. The first few months of the pregnancy were blissful. We decorated the nursery together, spent hours discussing names, and attended every doctor's appointment hand in hand. But as my body began to change, so did Alan. It started subtly. A comment here and there about my eating habits. "Are you sure you need that second piece of cake, Sarah?" Or maybe we should start thinking about a diet plan after the baby is born. I brushed it off: hormones, pregnancy cravings, nothing to worry about. Then came the stares. Long, lingering glances at my growing belly, followed by a tightening of his lips, a barely perceptible shake of his head. The compliments stopped, replaced by a cold, detached observation. One evening, about 7 months into the pregnancy, I was feeling particularly bloated and uncomfortable. I waddled into the living room, hoping to cuddle on the couch with Alan and watch a movie. He was on the phone, pacing back and forth, his voice low and agitated. He ended the call abruptly as I entered the room. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to ignore the way he was avoiding eye contact. "Just work," he mumbled, turning away. I sat down heavily on the couch, groaning a little. "God, I feel huge." I said more to myself than to him. He turned, his eyes raking over my body in a way that made my skin crawl. "You are getting big, Sarah," he said, his voice flat. "You need to be careful. You don't want to let yourself go." His words stung, but I tried to laugh it off. "Easy for you to say. You're not the one carrying a watermelon under your shirt." He didn't laugh. He just stared at me, his expression hardening. "It's not attractive, Sarah. Frankly, it's disgusting." The words hit me like a physical blow. Disgusting. He thought I was disgusting. Tears welled up in my eyes, blurring my vision. I stood up, my legs trembling. "How could you say that to me?" He shrugged, turning away again. "Just being honest. Someone has to be." I didn't say another word. I turned and fled to the bedroom, slamming the door behind me. I collapsed on the bed, sobbing uncontrollably. His words echoed in my head, each one a fresh wound. Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. That night, I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling. His cruelty had ripped away the rose-colored glasses I had been wearing. I saw him clearly for the first time, not as the loving, supportive partner I had believed him to be, but as a controlling, judgmental man who was incapable of empathy. I realized that his behavior wasn't just about the pregnancy, it was about control. He needed to feel superior, to tear me down, to build himself up. And I knew, with a chilling certainty, that I couldn't raise my child in that kind of environment. I wouldn't let my daughter grow up thinking that her worth was tied to her appearance, or that she had to tolerate being treated with disrespect. I knew I had to leave him. The decision was terrifying. I was pregnant, vulnerable, and financially dependent on him. But the thought of staying, of enduring more of his abuse, was even more frightening. I knew I had to protect myself, and more importantly, I had to protect my baby. The next morning, I woke up with a newfound sense of purpose. I wouldn't let him see me crumble. I would be strong, resourceful, and I would get out. I started by confiding in my sister, Emily. She had always been my rock, my confidant. When I told her what had happened, she was furious.
"That son of a bitch," she exclaimed. "I knew there was something off about him. You get out of there, Sarah. I'll help you." With Emily's support, I started to plan my escape. The first thing I did was consult with a lawyer. I needed to understand my rights and to make sure I was protecting myself legally. The lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Jessica, listened patiently to my story, her expression growing increasingly grim. "This sounds like a classic case of emotional abuse, Sarah," she said. "And the fact that he's making disparaging remarks about your weight during your pregnancy? That's just icing on the cake. We can definitely work with this." Jessica advised me to start documenting everything. Every cruel comment, every controlling action, every instance of disrespect.
She also told me to start gathering financial documents, bank statements, tax returns, anything that could give me a clear picture of our financial situation. That was when I discovered the truth about Alan's finances. He wasn't just controlling with his words, he was controlling with his money. I found evidence of hidden accounts, shady investments, and outright fraud. He had been embezzling money from his company for years. The discovery shocked me, but it also emboldened me. This was my ticket out. I knew I could use this against him in the divorce, and it would give me the financial security I needed to start over. Over the next few weeks, I meticulously gathered evidence, copying documents and transferring funds to a separate account that Alan didn't know about. It was risky, but I was careful. I made sure to cover my tracks, deleting my browser history and keeping my phone conversations private. I also confided in a few close friends, women who had always been supportive and understanding. They rallied around me, offering practical help and emotional support. They helped me pack boxes, find an apartment, and research childcare options. Even Alan's brother, David, was secretly on my side. He had always been wary of Alan's controlling nature, and he was disgusted by the way he was treating me. He offered to help me move out, promising to distract Alan while I packed my belongings. The day I finally moved out was one of the most surreal days of my life. It was a Tuesday, and Alan was away on a business trip. I had everything planned down to the minute. Emily and David arrived early in the morning with a moving truck.
We worked quickly and efficiently, packing up my clothes, my personal belongings, and the baby's things. As I packed, I felt a mix of emotions: fear, excitement, and a profound sense of relief. I was leaving behind a life of misery and stepping into the unknown. But I knew I was doing the right thing. By early afternoon, the apartment was empty. I left divorce papers on the kitchen counter, along with a detailed account of Alan's financial crimes. I also left a note, a single sentence that summed up everything I wanted to say: "I deserve better, and so does our daughter." I didn't look back. I climbed into the moving truck with Emily and David, and we drove away, leaving Alan and his lies behind. The first few weeks after I moved out were chaotic. I was living in a small, temporary apartment, adjusting to life as a single pregnant woman.
The exhaustion was overwhelming, but I was determined to make it work. When Alan returned from his business trip, he was furious. He called me incessantly, leaving angry voicemails and sending threatening texts. He accused me of being irrational, selfish, and a gold digger. Then, when he realized that his anger wasn't working, he switched tactics. He became contrite, apologetic, promising to change, to be a better husband, a better father. He begged me to come back, to give him another chance. But I wasn't fooled. I knew that his apologies were empty, that he was only sorry because he had lost control. I remained firm in my decision, refusing to speak to him directly, communicating only through my lawyer. A few months later, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. I named her Lily after my grandmother.
Holding her in my arms for the first time, I felt a love so profound, so overwhelming, that it washed away all the pain and doubt. Lily was my everything. She was the reason I had left Alan, the reason I was fighting for a better life. I was determined to give her a happy, stable home, free from the toxicity of her father's influence. Alan's involvement in Lily's life was minimal and inconsistent. He would show up sporadically, showering her with expensive gifts, trying to win her affection. But he was incapable of providing the kind of consistent, loving care that she needed. He often missed scheduled visits, blaming work, illness, or some other excuse. He would call at odd hours, demanding to speak to Lily, disrupting her routine. It was clear that he was more interested in controlling me than in being a genuine father to his daughter.
The divorce proceedings were long and contentious. Alan fought me every step of the way, trying to deny his financial crimes, challenging my fitness as a mother. But I was prepared. I had gathered all the evidence I needed, and I had a team of skilled lawyers on my side. During the divorce, I decided to treat myself to a well-deserved vacation. Using money from one of Alan's hidden marital accounts, I booked a luxurious trip to Mexico. I spent my days lounging on the beach, swimming in the ocean, and indulging in delicious food. It was exactly what I needed to recharge and reconnect with myself. One day, feeling confident and radiant, I took a picture of myself in a bikini. I had lost most of the baby weight, and I was starting to feel like myself again. I sent the picture to Alan with a simple caption, "Living my best life." His reaction was predictably furious. He accused me of being petty and vindictive. But I didn't care. I knew that the picture had struck a nerve, that it had shown him that I was thriving without him. The divorce was finalized a few months later. I was granted primary custody of Lily, along with a generous child support agreement. Alan was ordered to pay back the money he had embezzled, and he was subjected to regular financial audits. Despite the legal victory, Alan continued to spread lies and make excuses for his behavior. He told anyone who would listen that I had manipulated him, that I was a liar and a cheat. He tried to turn our friends and family against me, but most people saw through his charade. Over time, I found peace and happiness as a single mother. I focused on Lily, showering her with love and attention. I enrolled in a master's program, pursuing my dream of becoming a therapist. I surrounded myself with supportive friends and family, people who loved me for who I was. I learned to forgive myself for staying with Alan for so long, for tolerating his abuse. I realized that I had been blinded by love, by the hope that he would change, but I also learned that I was stronger than I ever thought possible, that I could overcome any obstacle with courage and determination. One day, about 3 years after the divorce, Alan's mother, Patricia, reached out to me. She had always been kind to me, even when Alan was being difficult. She told me that she missed Lily terribly, and that she wanted to establish a relationship with her granddaughter. I was hesitant at first. I didn't want Alan to use his mother as a way to manipulate me, but Patricia assured me that her intentions were pure, that she simply wanted to be a part of Lily's life. After careful consideration, I decided to allow supervised visits with Patricia. I knew that Lily deserved to know her grandmother, and I trusted Patricia to be a positive influence in her life. The visits went well. Patricia was loving and attentive, and Lily adored her. It was a small step forward, a sign that maybe, just maybe, our family could find a way to heal. Today, I am thriving. I have a fulfilling career, a beautiful daughter, and a life filled with love and laughter. I am confident, independent, and proud of the woman I have become. I often think about Alan, about the man I thought I knew, and about the choices I made. I don't regret leaving him. It was the hardest decision I ever made, but it was also the best. I chose myself, I chose my daughter, and I chose a life of happiness and self-respect. And I vowed to myself that I would never again confuse control with care. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to my channel for more such stories.